Hello, welcome to Should I Buy This Game? Featuring Ark Nova. My name is Christine, and in this video I'm going to share a few things I liked and disliked about the game to help you decide if you should buy Ark Nova. So I'm going to start by giving you a bit of idea of how Ark Nova is played. The main mechanism comes down to our 5 cards. We have cards, builds, sponsors, association, and animals. So for cards, this is getting new cards into your hand. And what you can do depends on which number it is sitting on. So for example, when cards is on 1, you can draw a card. On 2, you can draw 2 and discard 1. 3, you can draw 2, and all the way to 5, you can draw 4, discard 1. So these cards move as you use them. I'll show you that in a minute. I'm going to talk about each one first. Now, the cards actually start on the blue, and throughout the game, you're able to upgrade them to the opposite side. So for build, this allows you to build a building in here. So if your animal needs an enclosure of 3, you want to build a 3 building, which costs you 6 coins. The building always costs 2 times the number of spaces. So there's 1 to 5 spaces for the enclosures. Here, because it's on 2, we could only build a building size of 2. And as the card moves up, you can build the larger sizes. With sponsors, you have to be on the number for your sponsors. So here at 3, I am able to play this sponsor card at 3. But one of the larger sponsors at 5 or 4, I'd have to wait until my sponsor card moved up before I could play it. Next, the association card goes to this board. At 2, you're allowed to move along the research track. At 3, you become partners with a continent. At 4, you invest in some research. And at 5, you can invest in a conservation project. And then the animal cards just allow you to place the animals into your zoo once you have your building built. And depending which number you're on, it's how many animals you can place at one time. So what happens is, as you use it, say I'm using this association card, everything else moves up and this goes to the bottom. So you're always choosing what you want to do and moving the cards. If you place an animal, and this is how you get your cards to those higher numbers. And when they're at the number you want, then you're able to play them. And as a bonus, you can get these little X's, and what they allow you to do is, if you're here, you can put it on your build, and now you can build at a 5 instead of a 4. So there's these little bonuses to help you along with your cards. And that's the general way that the game is played. I want to show you how a card is made up. Here we have the size of enclosure that is needed in your zoo. This is the cost to add the animal to your zoo. And for this one, the special thing is you have to have an America symbol in your zoo. And that can be on another card or as a partnership. But the partnership isn't needed, but you need an America's already in your zoo before adding this guy. Then you're able to get a bonus for this one. You add all the sponsor cards from the display to your hand. And then you get to move 5 points along the track. Now, some of the animal cards want you to be near mountains or water, and that just means when you're placing your enclosures, you want to have it near the water or the mountain for where he's going to end up. There are 3 scoring tracks in the game. The first one is this that looks sort of like tickets. That's the main track where you're going to gain most of your points, such as here on the animal card. And all the animal cards typically will have points to go along that track. The next we have our conservation track. This starts from the opposite end and works this way while these ones are working this way. And it's harder to get these points. You get them from specific cards and then bonuses throughout the game. And then the last one is the research. The research track moves in the middle of the game, and this helps you flip over some of your cards that I was showing you, gain workers, and then also has spots to gain conservation points. So each time you use the cards action, you do a coffee break of 2 spaces. and that's moving this little coffee cup up this little track. The person to reach here receives one of those X's that gives you that bonus on your cards. At that point, basically the round is over and you have to do a few things. So everyone would get their cards in their hands down to 3, unless you have the bonus that you could do 5. If you have any bonus or negatives on your cards, you would discard them. You would get all your workers back. We would discard 2 cards from the middle of the row here of the animal cards. And this is where any of the purple hand motions are activated to get bonuses. You will get money for your pavilions, and then you also get the money depending where you're sitting on the track. So if you were way up here at 88, you get 33 coins. So it all depends where you sit. And then all you do is you move this back down to the starting position based on the number of players playing the game. So now I'm going to talk about a few things we liked and disliked about the game. And first up is the mechanics of the game. We really enjoy the mechanics and how you choose what you want to do, when you want to do it. And once you do it, you just move everything along and then choose your next move. And so we really like how it's very flexible in your playing your own game by choosing your next turn. Another thing we really like are the sponsor cards. There's a few different ones. I'm going to just give you an example. So this one, each time an herbivore icon is played in any zoo, you gain 3 coins. Whereas this one, it happens at the coffee break because there's the purple, and you gain 3, 6, or 9 coins for 1, 3, or 5 herbivore icons in your zoo. And as you can see, I had a lot of herbivores in my zoo. Another option is one like this, where each time you play a bird icon into your zoo, you gain 2 points. You can also place the penguin enclosure in your zoo, and it has to be at least next to 1 water space. But then at the end of the game, you could get 1 conservation point for every 6 birds you had in your zoo. So there's a whole bunch of different benefits that the sponsor cards offer. Now, a final thing we really liked is how many cards they give you in the game. This is the pile we didn't even use. This was our discard pile for the game. So every game you play will be different with different animals and different strategies. And at the beginning of the game, you're also given a couple game and bonus points cards. So you get 2 and you choose one halfway through the game to decide which one. So I went with this one, and I would gain conservation depending how many animals I had that were 2 or under. So here in my thing, you look at the habitats at 2 or under. I ended up getting 8 animals in the 1 or 2 habitats. So at the end, I was able to get 3 extra conservation points along the score track. So now I'm going to share a few things that we find a little about the game. So the first one is the workers. When you start the game, you only have 1 worker available, and you use these workers to gain the partner countries and your research. And you only get the worker back when you get to that coffee break. And so you're really waiting over and over and over again to get these. And by the time you have all these workers, you've already collected it all and you no longer really need them to do much. So we really wish that we could get a bonus worker earlier in the game. The next thing is that it's a really large game. By the time you put the board on and your player boards and then all your cards you're collecting, even with 2 people, we filled the table. So if you're playing with 3 and 4 people, you need quite a large table to play this game. And our last complaint of the game comes to scoring. Now the game ends when a person's player on this track passes their player on this track. So here I am on 69, and then here I am in this zone. So the game had ended. So what you do is you subtract 69 minus 52, and I scored a whole 17 whopping points. After playing the game for 2 hours, I got 17 points. But what makes it worse is that the other player didn't cross. And so they actually have negative 12 points. And so after you're playing the game for 2 hours, you get this big zoo, you do all this work, and to score negative points, I really think the scoring of this game needs to be reconfigured. But that's my opinion. So anyway, I'd love to hear your opinion. Leave me a comment if you've played Ark Nova before and what you think of the game.